You ever have a summer so wild you could write a whole book about it? Chapter 1, starting with a cop showing up at your barbecue? Because that's exactly how this circus kicked off. I was right in the middle of flipping ribs, sweating over the grill, neighbors everywhere, beers half raised, and everybody in that lazy, golden summer mood, when the police cruiser glided up like I'd just been caught running an illegal moonshine ring. Called it in. 3 doors down, tucked behind hedges trimmed like a golf course, stood Karen. Yeah, that Karen. HOA president, arms crossed so tight it's a wonder her pearls didn't snap. She had this look, like she'd just checkmated me in her own little suburban chess game. The cop, avoiding eye contact with my 30 guests, starts in with the official line, noise complaint. Illegal grilling. And honest to God, I almost lost it right there. Illegal grilling. In America, you can't make this stuff up. But I was ready. I pulled out the HOA bylaws, highlighted of course. Because after 2 years of Karen, I read those things more than my own tax returns, and pointed to the line. Gas and charcoal grills are allowed. Just keep him 10 feet from the house. Mine was 12. Want me to grab a tape measure? I said, deadpan, and the crowd rippled with laughter. The officer, probably hungry himself, handed back my rules and tried to leave with his dignity intact. But Karen, oh, she wasn't done. Stomps over, heels clacking, claiming the smoke might kill her grandkids. Her voice cracking on die like she was auditioning for a soap opera. The cop told her I was following every rule. She shot me a glare that could curdle milk, screamed about harassment, and finally stomped off, doors slamming so hard the windows rattled. For half a second, the block was silent. Then Dave, my neighbor, snorted. Guess you made the HOA Hall of Fame. Folks laughed, but I was already thinking, this wasn't the end. Karen never quit. By night, the guests faded away. I scrubbed down the grill, and the smell of mesquite mixed with this weird satisfaction. She wanted control, but the more I held my ground, the more she twisted up inside. That gave me an idea, not just to survive, but to use her own obsession against her. Next day, I combed the bylaws again, found the little cracks she never expected anyone to notice. Social gatherings? Not really regulated. Block parties? Encouraged, so long as you follow city rules. And I thought, what if I went bigger? Not just a cookout. What if I made it a community event? Invited everyone she'd ever rubbed the wrong way. I went door to door, told people what I was planning. Some thought I was crazy, a block party in Karen's kingdom, but everyone had a Karen story. Tulip colors, lemonade stands, parking spot drama. The resentment was right there, waiting for a spark. By Friday, I had volunteers, a neighbor with a sound system, the Johnson kids ready to run. Lemonade sales again. Karen must have sensed it, probably saw the traffic on our lawns, heard the whispers. Saturday morning, I woke up to a yellow flyer taped to my door. Emergency community. Notification, unsanctioned gatherings now prohibited. She quoted some law she'd probably made up. Folks grumbled, worried about fines, but I laughed. She wants to play lawyer? Great. Let's go. And by noon, the block was alive. Tables, lights, bounce house. Smelled like freedom. But right as the bounce house guy plugged in, a city SUV rolled up. Code enforcement. Karen stood on her porch, grinning like she'd just won the lottery. The inspector, clipboard glued to his hand, scanned the party. I handed him the online permit, filed days ago, approved by the city. He checked it, nodded, said, they're in compliance. Karen nearly exploded. She ranted about the spirit of the rules, and the inspector deadpanned. We enforce codes, ma'am, not spirits. Bounce house roared to life. Kids shrieking, neighbors cheering. But Karen wasn't done, never is. 2 hours later, fire truck shows up. She'd called in a fire hazard, waving at my smoker like I was running a nuclear reactor. The chief glanced at my setup, checked the bounce house cord, shrugged, told her it was the safest thing he'd seen all week. Party roared back to life, louder than before. And then, the big twist. Black sedan, lawyer in a suit that probably cost more than my grill, walks up, hands me a cease and desist from the HOA. The crowd gasped, but I could tell, just HOA letterhead, no court stamp. Karen just wanted folks scared. I announced it for what it was, an angry love letter. Even the lawyer looked embarrassed. But that night, my phone buzzed, anonymous photo of my house. Street lamp glowing. Enjoy your victory while it lasts. Karen's fingerprints, all over it. I could have called the cops, but you know what? She wanted a show. I just kept it. Next morning, the block felt different. Folks uneasy, wondering if she'd retaliate. 3 days later, violation notices, tiki torches, folding chairs, lawn clutter, hit half the block. Karen was punishing the whole party. That's when folks snapped. Mrs. Rodriguez marched over, waving her tulip violation. Mr. Patel muttering about rulers and grass. A crowd gathered, holding up their notices like protest signs. I suggested using the rules against her. Force a special meeting, lay out every abuse, every petty fine, every drama. The Johnson kids canvassed for signatures. Within 48 hours, we had enough. When the meeting came, the clubhouse was packed. Karen sat up front, hair sprayed to high heaven, trying to act like nothing was wrong. I laid out the evidence. Bogus violations, harassment. Even a slideshow of her illegal fountain she'd put in after dark. She blustered, but the crowd just got angrier. Then, twist number 2, a neighbor's lawyer stood up, announced a class action suit against the HOA. Karen's jaw nearly hit the floor. Her allies bailed. The board called a vote. Hands went up like fireworks. Karen stripped of her title on the spot. She stormed out, gavel broken. Legacy in tatters. Next morning, moving trucks. Karen vanished. No tearful farewell, just silence. For weeks, we traded theories. Maybe the lawsuit, maybe family. Maybe she was off terrorizing a new neighborhood. Nobody really cared. The block felt new. Kids played, folks gardened, the Johnson lemonade stand made a killing. But victory isn't always neat. Weeks later, a message pinged my phone. Some of us never forget. No name, just a chill. I looked at my neighbors, laughter in the air, ribs sizzling, and thought, let her come back if she wants. This neighborhood's changed. We're not scared anymore. So what would you have done? Would you have fought or folded? Ever taken on a bully like Karen? Or maybe been her? Drop your wildest HOA war stories below. Who's right? Who's wrong? And what does justice even look like in a place with rules for everything but common sense? Because out here, sometimes you gotta fight fire with barbecue. You'd think that after driving Karen out, we'd get a little peace, right? Maybe a few months of just mowing lawns, burning hot dogs, and arguing about whether to aerate in the fall. But that's not how it goes in this neighborhood. You ever heard of a power vacuum? Yeah. Turns out, when you take out a tyrant, everybody with a clipboard thinks it's their turn to wear the crown. And let me tell you, nothing brings out the crazies like a vacant HOA throne and a bunch of neighbors suddenly tasting freedom for the first time in years. It started quiet. Almost too quiet, if you know what I mean. I'd wake up, step out with my coffee, and there was this weird hush over the block. No more nasty notes, no more fake violations, just the sound of sprinklers and birds, like the whole place was holding its breath, waiting to see who'd step up next. Dave from across the street joked about running for HOA president on a Free Beer Fridays platform. The Johnson twins started a petition to turn the community clubhouse into an indoor skate park. Mrs. Rodriguez, God bless her, handed out flyers about restoring neighborly values, whatever that means. But here's where the real trouble started. Karen might have been gone, but her rules weren't. The bylaws she'd enforced like commandments were still there, inked into every contract, waiting for someone new to pick up the stick. And, as if on cue, the board announced a special election. Flyers went up, emails flooded in, and suddenly every concerned citizen wanted to have their say. At first, it was funny, watching the parade of candidates. There was Janice, the retired accountant, promising to lower HOA dues by switching to paperless everything. Then Steve, who'd only lived here 6 months, started a campaign to ban wind chimes because they attract thieves. No, seriously, that was his platform. I thought about running my "Don't you dare." Still, part of me was nervous. You ever win a war and then realize you're just standing on a new battlefield and nobody's sure where the next shot's coming from? That's how it felt. I tried to lay low, focus on the little things, grilling, fixing up the fence, helping Dave reseed his bald patch of lawn. But rumors swirled. Some folks said Karen was still sending emails to her old allies. Others claimed she'd hired a private investigator to keep tabs on community morale. I rolled my eyes, but I wasn't taking chances, kept my cameras running. Just in case. The twist? Halfway through election week, we started getting visits from strangers, realtors, city planners, even a couple of guys in hard hats walking the property lines, snapping photos. That's when the real story came out. Word spread that a big real estate group, Crescent Valley Properties, was looking to buy up a chunk of the neighborhood, maybe even tear down some old houses for a luxury townhome redevelopment. You want to talk about panic? People were losing their minds. Overnight, all that unity from the block party turned into shouting matches in the street. Sell, don't sell. Who's behind it? Is Karen involved? And just when it couldn't get weirder, a new character rolled in. Julia Crane, mid-30s, sharp suit, smile like she's already read your mind and decided she doesn't like what's there. She shows up at the next board meeting, says she's the community engagement liaison for Crescent Valley, but she talks like a lawyer and moves like a chess player. Within minutes, she's got the old guard eating out of her hand, promising beautification grants, new playgrounds, free exterior paint jobs. If, of course, folks will just sign a little interest survey. I watched her work the room, offering handshakes and winks, and for the first time since Karen left, I felt a cold pit in my stomach. Let me back up a sec, see? I knew Julia's type. Same playbook as Karen, just with nicer business cards. I tried to warn my neighbors, told Dave, told Mrs. Rodriguez, even emailed the board, but folks were tired of drama. They wanted easy fixes, shiny promises. Even the Johnson kids were jazzed about the idea of a new skate park. But here's the thing. Power doesn't disappear, it just changes hands. Within a week, Julia had convinced the board to set up a community improvement committee. And guess who got nominated as chair? Yours truly, nominated in absentia, because apparently he knows how to deal with strong personalities. Yeah, thanks for that, Dave. So here I was, sitting in my own living room, surrounded by blueprints and contracts, listening to Julia pitch modernization like it was the answer to every problem. She kept steering the conversation back to property values and community image, buzzwords I'd heard before. But the way she leaned in, voice soft, all charm, man, it was Karen all over again, but slicker. She dropped hints about underutilized spaces, suggested flexible zoning, and at one point actually slid a sample contract across my coffee table. I read the fine print. Mandatory design updates. Fines for noncompliance. HOA board gets new powers, including the right to sign off on major sales. All it'd take was a simple majority vote. That night, I barely slept. Kept thinking about all those cookouts, the lemonade stands, the kids drawing chalk monsters on the sidewalk. What would happen if we traded one tyrant for a whole corporation? I knew what I had to do, rally the neighborhood. Not with drama, not with a showdown, just with the facts. Next morning, I went door to door again. Showed people the contracts. Read them the fine print. Some folks listened, some rolled their eyes, but a handful, especially the ones who remembered Karen's reign, got it right away. By the end of the week, we had our own petition going. No redevelopment without a full community vote. No surveys, no backroom deals. Of course, Julia didn't take it well. She showed up on my porch one night, all smiles. But her eyes were cold. She leaned in and whispered, "You can't stop progress. Maybe you should move somewhere quieter." I just smiled and told her, "I like the noise. Reminds me people are still living." The community meeting that month was packed, standing room only, tempers flaring. Julia tried to pitch her plan, but I stood up, holding the petition, and read every single name. Dave, Mrs. Rodriguez, the Johnson twins, even old Mr. Patel, who hated meetings more than he hated crabgrass. The board squirmed, the crowd cheered, and in the end, Julia packed up her glossy brochures and walked out, heels clicking like gunshots. But here's the real kicker. Karen, wherever she was, must have been watching, because a week later, another anonymous note appeared in my mailbox. "You can chase away a queen, but the throne never stays empty." No signature, of course, just that old familiar chill. So here we are. No Karen, no Crescent Valley, at least for now. The bylaws are still there, the grill still works, and the neighbors, well, they're still a little crazy, but they are crazy. And I sit out on the porch, flipping ribs, watching the sun go down, wondering who'll come for the throne next. Because in the end, power's just a game. And it's only fair if everyone gets a turn. So what do you think? Does every neighborhood need a Karen to keep things in line? Or is it better when the lunatics run the asylum? Ever had a Julia roll into your life promising you the world? Drop your stories below. Let's hear about the wildest HOA messes, real estate wars, or neighborhood coups you've survived. And if you've got the secret to true community peace, well, don't keep it to yourself. I'm all ears, and hey, my grill's always hot.